Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm a nobody from nowhere that ain't never done nothing. That's what I am. An old head. These young coaches, I tell you what, I can't figure these jokers out. They got a backpack on and tight something. I don't know what they're doing. They're getting on my nerves, I can tell you that. I know what ain't in the backpack. A string and a let me paint that line for you. That ain't in there. That's for sure. I had a kid the other day. He said, "Hey, Coach, didn't Christopher Columbus write the Pledge of Allegiance?" I said, "He sure did. He also played quarterback for the 1985 Chicago Bears." He said, "Bet." That happened. Sun Coaches, Season 6, where coaches come and tell their stories. Some of them are funny. Some of them is going to help you in your coaching journey. Not everybody has a funny story, but everybody has a story. Hope you enjoy Sun Coaches, brought to you by Titan Sensor. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sensor for Seasons 6 and 7. Titan is made in the USA, proudly founded and based in Texas. When you connect with Titan, you are not alone. You can collaborate and share templates with other coaches across the country to build reports and foster competition. Used by programs such as State 6A, Georgia State Champion, Grayson High School, Titan can tailor a package to fit your needs. The eye in the sky never lies. Improve your team's performance with Sun Titan. Coaches Podcast, Season 6, and I'm fired up today to be joined by the head coach at East Paulding, Coach Van Spence. Thanks for being on with me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Coach, just like I ask everybody, where'd you actually grow up and go to high school?
I grew up in Calhoun, Georgia, and when people hear Calhoun, they think you went to Calhoun High School, but I went to Gordon Central High School.
Really?
Yes, sir. Back in the 1990s, we had a good run over there back in the day. Vernon Jackson was our head coach, and a lot of guys that I was coached by, I think, led me to where I'm at today. But Gordon Central and class of 96, proud of that group. We had a good group of guys.
What all did you play in high school?
I actually played football, basketball, and baseball. Was fortunate enough to go play college baseball and played at Kennesaw State. But that was just I've got a teammate that's been on probably several guys that you spoke to staff at Berry Hall, who was with me. He's one of my best friends. He played in the league for a little bit, so that's one of I'd say the claims to fame of Gordon Central football. But we had a good group, and we had a lot of good time.
Yeah, I've been seeing the things on Twitter and showing Coach Napier films from the 90s when he coached at Murray County, and somebody from GC put on there, the year y'all had one year, y'all had a really good year, and y'all were battling Murray County, and the guy was like, "Yeah, we went." He said the 4 years we played Murray County, I think we were 3-1 against Murray County or something like that. And some of the younger guys are like, "Really?" Because they don't understand how good those two programs were back then, as opposed to how things are now.
I agree. We had toe-to-toe battles with them in multiple sports. Regions have changed over the years, but there was a lot of good ball up there. We had LFO and Lafayette and Ringgold. I mean, it was just a good group of people that worked hard, and a bunch of guys went on to play college ball out of that region. But yeah, we were that 95 year, we went 10-3. And so I think that surprised a lot of people that these fellows from Gordon County were going out there and doing some pretty good things.
That's awesome. So when you got to Kennesaw State and played baseball and had that opportunity, did you know, you said you were kind of guided by your high school coaches. Did you know all along you were going to teach and coach, or did you just kind of get in the wrong line, went to being an accountant, or?
No, no, my father's an accountant. Actually, my mother has been she was in education for 30 plus years. And I enjoyed being outside. I enjoyed, competing. So when I went to college, my college baseball coach, Mike Sansing, said, I could see you one day being a head coach or being an AD. And I thought that was a really, really nice compliment. But I had no desires to do anything in an office building. Everything I ever wanted to do was to be in some type of athletics. So the first 10 years of high school coaching, I coached football and baseball. And that was a lot of time, but, you gotta do what you got to do to move on and get positive results. So it was good.
Well, when you were at Kennesaw State, y'all were very successful in the baseball program. Did you get to play with Chris Holliday?
Holliday was before me. I'm
Right.
a little bit younger.
Yeah,
I played with Jason Jones.
Okay.
Jason Jones is probably the most. He's the one who played with the Texas Rangers. He's 2-time Division II Player of the Year. Great person too. But my junior year, we lost the national championship. But Jason got drafted. Willie Harris, who played with the Braves, I think he holds the Braves single game hitting record. I think he got 6 hits. And so Willie was my roommate. And there's a lot of guys that went on to do some great things in the game.
Yeah, I was just curious because I knew Chris played. We grew up together, and he played. I know he had a good career at Kennesaw State, and I thought he was a little bit ahead of you. I just didn't know if you caught him at his tail end and when you were getting there, or how that timed up. So when you came out of college, what was your first teaching and coaching job?
Well, it's funny that, and I really thought the stars aligned, but when you're going through this educational process, your curriculum, your student teaching, well, everything I had was at McEachern. And I met Coach Dorsey, who at that time had already done so many great things. And so I was fortunate enough when I got done with my student teaching to get offered a job. And so I went straight to McEachern. And it was a great transition because I already knew a lot of people because I'd spent so much time there.
That's awesome. So you actually just kind of streamlined right into McEachern.
Yes, sir. Steve Jones, who went, Steve Jones was the DC forever there, and he was the county athletic director. He was Walton's AD, I believe. He was kind of like a mentor for me, and he had transitioned to that AD position, so I was fortunate enough to kind of slide into his spot. Learned a lot from him in that first year, but, actually I always thanked him when I saw him anytime after that for moving on up in his career because it allowed me to have a teaching spot, and I was very fortunate.
So what was your first coaching job? Like, were you a position coach, or, what did you do?
It's funny now because most people that I guess, and the guys that listen to your podcast and the guys that I've talked to over the years would probably think, something offensively, but my first ever position group was defensive ends. And it's funny, the first position group I ever had, a young man who was in my group, his son is now going to be a freshman, and they live in Dallas, Georgia. So he's now on our team. So it's kind of full circle moment. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like generational coaching, second generation guys.
Yes, sir.
Makes you old, but that's still pretty good.
I don't say that often.
No, that's still pretty cool.
I'm still here.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool though. Yeah, that is awesome. When I was at Early County, we had, the coaching staff had been together forever. Like they'd been together for 25 years, and they were like on their second generation. Like they were just catching, like when they first got there, and they were, like you said, like first year coaches, they coached some guys, and then they started catching kids when they were freshmen, sophomores, and it was pretty cool to, because you could coach them a little different when their daddy knew how you were when you were.
I agree.
You know?
We've got a couple of those now that are on our squad
That's
who I
awesome.
coach their fathers. So you can, yeah, you're right. You can talk to them a little different, and they get it. They get it because they get reinforced at home, I would imagine.
So how long did you stay at McEachern and, move from defensive ends to, I imagine you moved around and moved up there? How did that process go?
Well, we were, because Coach Dorsey near the end, he was near the end of his career. So I did defensive ends the first year, and then they moved me over because we kind of switched up the whole staff a little bit. I moved over to quarterbacks, and that was kind of where I felt more at home, as that's the position I played. I spent 7 years under Coach Dorsey and just worked quarterbacks, and that was kind of like my primary deal. And then Kyle, who, Coach Dorsey taught me so much. And then Kyle comes in, and I think Kyle allowed me to really spread my wings, so to speak. When the transition was made from Coach Dorsey to Coach Hockman, most of the guys had been together on that staff for a very long time. And so a lot of guys went to, new places. Some people retired, and I was the only position coach that stayed. I sat and met with Kyle. I thought the world of him, and I still do. I still talk to him regularly because I always like to call and pick his brain for guidance and tips. And but then I stayed with Kyle for 8. So I was at McEachern for 15 years and moved up from quarterbacks to coordinator. And I just served as the offensive coordinator to the end of my time at McEachern.
Yeah, I've never been fortunate enough to meet Coach Hockman yet, but everybody that I've ever talked to, they just go on and on about how high of an IQ guy he is, that he's like very cerebral, like just
very,
like that he's like on a whole nother, he thinks about things on a totally different planet than everybody else. And I mean that in the most sincerely positive way, that he's, everybody, gushes over. They're like, man, you got to sit down. You got to get him on. You got to talk to him because he's a definitely dude you need to talk to.
I would agree upon that. Like I said, I learned so much from him, and just the way he thinks, the way he went about his way, the way the kids responded to him. It was good, and I'm not sitting in the seat that I fortunately get to sit in without his guidance. And there's been a lot of other coaches that done so much to help me grow as a man and as a coach and as a father. But Kyle had it.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Had a big piece to what I'm fortunate enough to do now.
So after those 15 years at McEachern, where did you? I bet that had to be kind of hard to leave being used to doing that and the security of McEachern and the family of McEachern to branch out and go do something else. What did you decide to do after that?
Well, it's funny that I'm a reference Coach Dorsey again. Coach Dorsey told me there was a coaching job opening, and it was at Paulding County. And, I will say this, we've all kind of been there. We're like, well, do I stay in the same place? Do I move on and try to grow? And Coach Dorsey called me and said, hey, that was my first ever head job. And he kind of, as Coach Dorsey will, he goes, hey, it worked out for me. And I was like, yes, sir. And I just kind of decided to give it a go. And I was fortunate enough to be a head coach for the first time at Paulding County. And, Coach Hockman was full on supportive. He encouraged me, And, I just figured I'd spread my wings and try to see what I can do. But to your point, it was very, very difficult because our time at McEachern was outstanding. surrounded by so many great men, players. Gosh, we had a good time, and the kids worked hard, and that was it's kind of what you want. Every day you show to work, and it's really not work. It's a great experience because people are all on the same page, working towards a common goal. So, yeah, I took the Paulding County job, and as my first ever head coaching responsibility.
And was it like drinking water out of a fire hose like most everybody else says, or was it what you expected, or did you have a good plan, or was it baptism by fire? How was your very first head coaching job?
Well, I thought, honestly, those books, and I talked a lot about this with my wife, who is a phenomenal coach's wife. I said, it's like before we have our first child, you could read every single book, you could ask every single question, but until you've done it, you're not really prepared. And I really felt that we had a good plan. I had some good guys with me, but it was it's not the ball. The ball's not the problem. It's not. I won't say the problem. Ball was the easy part. It's all the other stuff that you can read about, be told about, but until you walk that walk, you don't realize how much or how difficult that can really be. But had a great group of kids the first year. With any time there's change, I'm the new guy. I thought Scott Hamilton, who was there prior, did a great job. They had a good season. I think he does a great job. But yeah, I took it over, and we had some ups, we had some downs in that first year, but we showed that we could maybe compete, and we grew a lot. In year two, we make the playoffs, and it had been quite some time since, I guess, Paulding County had made the playoffs, so that was a really big feather in the cap. And the kids, we had quite a few kids that were fortunate enough to go play collegiately. But then the next year is when it got to be the toughest, because we graduated a ton of seniors, and we were very, very green, very, very young. And I think at one point we started a freshman at quarterback. So year three was very difficult. It really was. But I still go back to that year, and we went 1-9, and we worked like we're competing for a state championship every week, because we wanted these guys to feel success. We wanted these guys to understand that, sometimes it's not always on our timeline, but we ended up winning game 10. So we were 0-9, but I still go back to that year as probably one of the, as difficult as it was, one of the best years for me as a person to battle through, work through, and I know as a human I grew. And, you ask kids to stay poised, you ask kids to persevere through tough times. And so we as coaches, along with the kids, we had to live that. And it was always cool to end the season on a win. So there was definitely some positive moving into the off season. And in the next couple of years, we had a little bit better success. We had some big wins here and there, but the regional alignments got us a little bit. We had Carrollton and Douglas County and Kell, all those guys in Rome in our region. That was difficult. But once again, it's one of those things where, we want to win games as high school coaches. I'm sure you've got a ton of guys that talk about that. But, we try to build men too. And I think, now that I'm a little older, I've seen guys that are firemen. I've seen guys that serve in our military. I saw a guy, we unfortunately had a young lady at our graduation that evening. She had a seizure during the graduation. It was a scary moment. And here comes one of my former players, he's an EMT, goes up there and takes care of her. So, we didn't win as many games as we want, but I think some of the relationships that were built and the development of young men, and even as older guys like myself, we learned a lot and got to be hopefully better people all the way around.
And after Paulding County, what did you parlay that into?
Well, that I stepped down after 6 years, and I was kind of like unsure what I was going to do. And Andy Dorsey, who was the son of Coach Dorsey, said, "We're hiring a new coach. and I'm going to give you his number. I'd like you to call him. So I did, and we spoke. And I was so desperate. I didn't want to go too far away from home. I was, I did have some folks reach out that are a lot farther away, but I've got 3 children, and they were kind of transitioning, to middle school. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to just uproot them from something they've built as, friendships. But I called, Andy gave me that number, and I called Chris Hirschfield, who had taken the job at East Paulding. And I just said, look, man, I need a job. And he said, well, I said, here's the deal. I've got a son. I've got another son. They will play in your middle school program. I will also coach your middle school program. I mean, I just want a job. And East Paulding is like 10 minutes from my home. And things worked out. And year 1, I coached the 6th grade team. The 7th grade team, the quarterbacks. And, and just year 2, I moved. Now I was coaching the 7th grade, the 8th grade, and I was the OC. And we made the playoffs. Unfortunately lost in round 1, but we had a good group of kids that were kind of feeling that, hey, we could do some great things here. So at the end of that season, in the off season, the school decided to make a change, and I got called to the office, and they asked me on the last day of school, and that's been a little joke that I've had with some guys. Like, doesn't everybody gets a job on the last day of school after spring ball? But I took the job as we were heading into the first dead week. And last year was my first year as a head coach again at East, and we were very fortunate to go, 10-2, and until we ran into Lee County, and Coach Fabrizio had a great team. And now we sit here ready for year 2 as head coach at East Paulding.
So when you got your second head coaching opportunity, what were some things that you learned from your first? Now, granted, you had 6 years of doing it, and then you kind of had a hard reset. Probably had a lot of fun at the middle school level, to be honest.
Oh, it was great. Middle school football is fun because you see, wow, this is middle school, and you go to the bare bones, and then the way we set it up at our school is that you would the varsity guys, of course, varsity, JV, and freshmen practice right after school. I'd go run. We'd have that practice, then you go to your middle school deal. But I think you become a sharper coach because you're like, okay, not everybody thinks like we do. And my wife's an elementary PE teacher. She says all the time, she goes, these kids don't think like you coaches sometimes think. And I just felt like it made me kind of refocus on how I teach kids at every level. But we had the best time. My oldest was the quarterback for one team. My middle was the quarterback for the other team. And it was just really fun seeing them compete and learn. You know how it transitions. We start, spreading our wings a little bit offensively. And so when you start seeing like, hey, what it could be in several years to come. So I had a blast with it. And I encourage a lot of young coaches that, yeah, it's good to have a varsity spot, JV spot. But I encourage I don't care what school you're at, to go spend a night or 2 with those middle schoolers, because I think it will, it's only going to help your overall program, but you'll learn that, sometimes just the simple things can sometimes be a lot better than some of these fancy drills we sometimes see on YouTube and other places.
Yeah, shoot, it ain't even middle school kids. It's high school kids don't think like we do, like you think they do. I got tickled telling them about, I was watching the kids. I think it had to be like 03 or 04 at Lithia Springs, working with Isaac Farrell, and we're doing camp. We're spending the night up at the school, and the kids were playing Madden. And we've been trying to teach them cover 2. And the corners just couldn't understand, hard corner. And I'm sitting there watching the game. They're like, come on, kid. And I was younger. They're like, come on, coach, come play the game with us. I was like, no. I'll just watch. And I start watching it, and I'm like, I told my corner, I said, you see that purple zone right there? That's what you have when we call cover 2. That's your area. He was like, well, why don't we just call it the Purple Zone?
Purple.
And I said, okay. So we started calling it Purple Zone. Well, fast forward 23 years or 22 years, and I'm out there the other day trying to teach the Jacks in the 3-4, we're apex and they're looking at me. I'm like, top of a mountain, get halfway in between these two guys and you form the point, the top of a mountain. Oh yeah, I understand that word. Okay, good. Top of mountain. All right. You're going to pop your feet, flip your hips, go knock the crap out of the number 2 receiver, and within 10 yards, I said, I don't know what color it is now, but it used to be the Purple Zone. And one of the kids goes, he just...
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. The rush of racing? Nothing beats it. But Chumba Casino comes close. Chumba's got fast spins, fun games, daily bonuses, and all the action you can handle. Now that's a ride. Ready to hit the throttle? Get in the driver's seat and head to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
He goes, it's still purple, coach. And I said, all right, we have the Purple Zone. And I was so excited because we were speaking the same language, because it's easier for us to learn their language sometimes than, all right, you're the hang player. You're going to apex number 2. And those kids just look at you like, what? You're like, just look at the end man on the line of scrimmage. If he blocks down, go there.
Right.
If he stands up, you got the Purple Zone. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And
we actually transitioned that way. We as kids, when we started coming up with those silly signals and everything that, everybody thinks so hard about, I'm like, what works for y'all? And I'm like, if they can know it, if they're 100%, we as coaches will adapt. That's what we did.
Coach, I agree 1,000% with that because we've been doing it for so long, we should be able to adjust, Whatever makes sense to them. They're the ones that have to get out there and do it.
Amen to that.
On the defensive side of the ball, I used to tell people all the time, I'm like, I give them a toy box to play with and toys to play with. All of these toys in here will work. I don't really care which toy you use. Just make sure everybody knows the toys that y'all are playing with together. And, y'all want to play cover 1 to trips? I don't care. You want to play trap to trips? Don't care. You want to play cover 3 to trips? Don't care. Just make sure everybody knows. And we can do that. Now, if you screw it up, I'm going to take your toys away from you. But they're the ones out there playing. And I learned that when I was at Americas. The kids were like, hey, Pops, can we play cover 1 to trips? I don't know. Can we? Well, yeah, we can lock these guys up. Okay, well, let's do that. Because they're the ones out there playing. They're the ones out there dealing with it. So if they just give them some ownership, let them, let them do it. And, it lets them kind of feel like they're part of the process. And if they want to call it, fuzzy rat turds, we'll call it fuzzy rat turds. I don't care. It doesn't really matter.
As long as they know what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gives them ownership. And that's the key to the whole thing, I feel.
So when you took over last year, what were some things, transitioning from the first time, things you learned, things you thought you might need to change, and just basic overall philosophy? What's your basic, like when you go in and present your program and you say, this is Van Spence's idea of of how to run a high school football program, how do you sell that to an administration?
Well, I think like in this situation, there was like, there wasn't as much sell because I think, I feel like who I am as a person is who I am as the coach. I care about how we are as people. I care about our academics. I care about our work ethic because I'd say the number one thing to really answer your question is that I am a work person. And that's not just in the weight room. That's not just in the practice. That is everything. That is how I am talking to my teachers, my family, my friends, being on time. Like it's hard sometimes, as all of us coaches know, it's hard sometimes for these kids to be on time all the time, but it requires work. And so the number one push for this group was, work. And so, not saying that we weren't doing that prior, but as just the assistant, I'm going to do what I'm asked to do in that role. But we just kind of flipped the script a little bit about how we went about our work. And we kind of upped the ante a little bit on, what we're asking our kids. And, the one thing I've found, and by no means is this any type of shot or anything towards where I'm at, is that when I first met a lot of kids in Paulding, is they love football. It's like they looked it upon as something to just do. But I'm like, this could be an opportunity as well. And so that's always been the push, is that I want you to give it your all. I want you to be successful in whatever endeavor you choose, but this could be a great opportunity. And so, it was pretty cool. Last year, we were fortunate enough to sign 14 kids because I think they really bought into that, hey, I can work at everything and have multiple opportunities. And we have young men going all over the place at all different levels to continue getting their education and play collegiate football. So my whole sale is who I was as a person. That we're going to work hard. We're going to be good people. And through that, be disciplined enough to know, hey, how am I going to make the choices I need to make to be successful, not only as a person, but as a teammate. And so I felt like that was one thing that really, really resonated with the principal and our athletic director and even the school. And I think our kids feel like I'm pretty genuine, and, I'm here to help them, but I'm also here to hold them accountable and try to get them to be the best they can be. So I felt like that was kind of the sell with the school, and it kind of worked out year one.
That's awesome. I lived in Temple for 6 years and actually worked at Austin Middle School, so I'm very familiar with Paulding County. But share with the listeners just how close you are to some of the other schools in your area. Directly to your east, you have which high school?
Well, to my east, we have, Paulding County's 10 minutes from East Paulding.
Right.
In one direction. East Paulding sits kind of right on the Cobb line. I'm actually closer to Harrison, Hillgrove, and McEachern than South Paulding and North Paulding.
Right.
But,
and then if you go north up, what is that, 96?
60, well,
no,
I'm trying to think.
What's the road that goes right 92. By the high school? 92. If you go north up 92, you run into that school that starts with an A that's been pretty good. It's not far from you either.
No, they're not. My home sits right between Altoona and Harrison. And so, because I'm right there on the Cobb Paulding line. But I'd say Hiram, which is, Hiram does, Coach Fomenai has done a great job there. Of course, he moved on to Sprayberry, but heck, they're like 10 to 15 minutes from us. So we're not all geographically stretched out, but south, what you're talking about, Austin Middle, but they're a little bit farther away from us. But us, Paulding, and Hiram are all within a stone's throw.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I want people to understand, because when I was up there, I didn't realize until we moved up there how close East Paulding was to McEachern and how close it was to Harrison and how close it was to Altoona and how close it was to Douglas County High School and Hiram. And I was like, good Lord, everything's, it's a whole lot closer than you think it is, even though it's not, quote unquote, metro, city school, because the growth just blew up that way, because Paulding County is kind of like Gwinnett West as far as growth goes, and things just blew up that way.
Oh, without a doubt. North Paulding has got a ton of students. We were over right at 2,000. Paulding 6A. I don't think anybody, I don't know what years you were in this area, but I don't think anybody would have dreamed that there would be two 6A and two 5A programs in Paulding, and there's still Hiram that's a 4A program.
Yeah, it was 2007.
Yeah, it's
2007.
blown up.
Yeah, we used to go to Hiram to like eat, restaurant. If we didn't want to go to Carrollton, we'd go to the highway, the big 4-lane,
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. Where all the places to eat, the mall and everything else is right there.
That's 61.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I guess the 4-lane.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Because then we'd go, if you go a little bit further, you go into Kennesaw, and that's what we did, because I was pre-children, and we would, we'd go out to eat, and we'd go somewhere nice, like Applebee's, like that song when it came out. Me and my wife got tickled. We were like, yeah, we remember when we used to think that was we're going to Longhorns tonight, baby, but put on your Sunday clothes. We're going.
Amen.
We're
But no, we
eat
now
good
278 in Hiram's busiest, might be one of the busiest stretches of that's not interstate around. 278 that runs right through Paulding County.
Oh yeah,
That's where all the food. It is packed.
Yeah, and if you keep going out
hours
west, you get to Rock Mart's not far.
Right.
I mean, it's
Gotta go hit the pizza farm.
yeah, it's right there. So it's just you've got a lot going on, and I say all that to say that, like you said, the kids in that area, they don't always look at football the same way as like one horse town, South Georgia, middle. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean that negatively.
No, you're right.
I'm just saying
there's a lot of other things to do.
Yeah, they've got a million other things they could be doing. Whereas, most of our kids, it's like, hey, it's football season. They can go fishing, hunting, or play football, and they can usually do all of those at the same time. It's not like they have other sports or other opportunities, or they can't. There's only so many jobs. There's only there's not a mall in a lot of places. So
no, but I was Paulding and East. I've been very thankful, and that's something like I told myself that I don't think I would ever be a head coach again. But when this East thing happened, my wife and I were like, well, man, this is, somebody bigger than us had this all planned out. I really believe it. I feel like this was a God thing, but East Paulding has just been a godsend for my family and I. I mean, we have had the time of our life. Of course, it helps when you have your own children that are now attending your school, because there's even more buy-in, but it's been good. It's been good. Now, of course, we'll see how year 2 goes. It'll be overall year 4 for me at the school, but it's been good to be a part of. I feel like something that's people want to be a part of. I know it probably sounds silly, but people want to be a part of our program, and that's it's been a really cool thing to see it kind of just continue to grow.
So how was your first spring there compared to how spring was going into year 2? Or how was the spring this year compared to the first spring there?
Well, last spring we had a lot of singing.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
And so the leadership piece, not that we don't have some great leaders this year, but we were very mature as a unit. Offense, defense, special teams. Like I said, about every young man that you would kind of look upon as being a leader, a captain, went on to, or is going on to play college ball. So it was very, very efficient. It was, a well-oiled machine, and I was very proud of how it went. But this spring, and just to, some people that listen that don't know the dynamic of youth. In the spring game, we played Coach Gates and then Cass. Steve's doing a great job, but we both were kind of youthful. But we just kind of put on the board 17 of our 22 starters in our spring scrimmage this year were current 9th and 10th graders. So, we had to slow things down a little bit this spring. I was very pleased with the work ethic of our kids. I was pleased about what we were able to accomplish as far as, how everybody's got like a kind of a check sheet of how and what they want to get in prior to summer. But we were able to really check a lot of boxes, but very youthful. We started 2 freshmen at tackle. Now, of course, there'll be 10th graders, but so I'll say the difference between the two. One, there was everybody was, because I was not the head coach last spring, so I was still just in my offensive coordinator role. But this spring, I thought it went very smooth. I thought our kids were bought in and did well, but it's just right now we're just trying to grow as football players and our football IQ, because we are going to be very youthful in many, many areas.
So what are some things this summer that y'all have done to help with that? And whether it's 7-on-7, OTAs, just like everyone else, have y'all made the 7-on-7 circuit, or have y'all done like old school, just get together with other schools, or have y'all Georgia Tech did, or Georgia did, or gone to some of those tournaments, or Auburn, or whoever has the?
We've done all of them, actually. I will say one of the benefits of being where I'm at, our school, our Bush Club provides a lot of opportunities. And I said, guys, we need to get our kids. They need to go and be in other places to see everything. And so we did. We went to Georgia Tech. We've gone to Auburn. We've gone to Georgia. And so that went good. I thought, we didn't win every game. We didn't win, everything we wanted to win. But we saw some very, very, very good quarterbacks. We saw some very good competition, and our kids competed. So that's been something we've done because we are, if anybody knows us, and my son will be our quarterback, and I'm very fortunate that the good Lord has blessed him with height and arm strength. So, we need to go do these things so we can kind of work through all the little finer points. So we've been exposed to some really talented people and some big places where, it's pretty neat when you're throwing at, Brock Indoor at Georgia Tech, or, you're throwing at the indoor at Auburn, or the indoor at Georgia. So just trying to expose our kids with a lot of different stuff and all different types of teams. So we've been doing that. We still do our day-to-day. We'll do our normal group work and, do some situational stuff, 2-minute stuff, just doing everything we can to fine tune ourselves to get us ready for that first scrimmage, which is, we'll be going against Harrison, which will be a good and a well-coached team as well.
So from the first time you were a head coach, you were a head coach for 6 years, and then you did middle school for a couple of years. Now you're back in the big chair again. So it's been 8-9 years since you were your first head coaching job. Things have changed in the state of Georgia with high school football in that time. What are some things that you've seen change that you've noticed that you're like, it's a little bit different now than it was the first time I was a head coach?
Well, I think the one thing that's changed, I don't want to, I don't know if I should even say it like this, but I just feel like we maybe as parents, because I'm a parent too, have gotten a little bit softer. And so that's something that I've really, really noticed is that, and I hope I don't hurt your ratings on this one, but I just feel like
I don't have ratings. You don't have to worry about that.
What I'm saying. I just don't want to, but I just have noticed that, it didn't go my kids' way. So the best thing to do is complain. And there's a lot of that goes on. Whereas let's just see, well, what can I do to be better? And how can I earn, that opportunity to compete, or earn that opportunity to start or be in the mix? That's something I think I know definitely has changed. I think GHSA's done some cool stuff here of late that, that's going to hopefully fix some things that have changed a lot as far as kind of the moving and shaking amongst schools. I just felt like the two places that I've been a head coach, people would, they try to get kids from that school. And, sometimes it's hard to hold on to them. So I'm hoping that will continue to improve as far as kids stay in their community because, as we spoke about at the very beginning, growing up in Gordon County and all those kids that I played ball with, we were excited just to compete for the hometown school, the school that I grew up in, the school that I went to the middle school program or played in the middle school program. So, I think that could help because that definitely, I believe, has got a little bit out of hand. So from day one as a head coach to now, I thought that was probably one of the biggest things I've seen. And then, of course, I'd say, to be honest with you, that's probably the biggest thing I've seen is how easy it is for people just to say, I'm out, and they are able to play it in our school. So that's probably my thoughts on that.
Well, the mountain that I'm going to die on, and I've beat this dead horse every episode, and you and I are of the same age, more or less, is this calendar. And the fact that we're playing football games in August, at the beginning of August, and it's ridiculous. And having 2 dead weeks during the season is ridiculous. And I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And I hope the young coaches that come behind us can get a handle on it and get it fixed to where football is backed up and played when it ought to be played, to where there's not such an onus on June being as important as June has become for football, where kids can be kids and go do other things, where we're not stressing about, oh my God, Jimmy wasn't here today, or, Jimmy's going to miss this week because he's going wherever, or he's playing baseball, he's at a basketball camp. Well, good. Let Jimmy go do that in June. But it's hard now because we're playing real football games the first week of August. And, hey, you got 4 days acclimation, and, oh, by the way, next week you got a game. That just doesn't.
5 days of prep.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me. There's no way that's. But anyway, old man yelling at the clouds. But
no, I agree. I think it is compressed, and I think I don't know how y'all go in the summer, but we give our kids off Friday, Saturday, Sunday just for that reason, thinking, hey, go be a kid. But I agree with you, Punk. I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think it's great that schools do the little breaks the way we do it. I mean, my wife and my kids and I like to do stuff during those breaks, but it is so sped up, and you probably laugh about this, but you remember when we were all younger, like we didn't have a buddy, a team we're playing in baseball pitched to us till we were about 10 years old. You remember those days back in the day? Like, you were a pitch machine.
Yeah.
And now you got kids
throwing at each other when they're 7.
At 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Stupid. And I fall guilty to it too, because my kids are like, well, I guess if that's what we're doing it. But I feel like, to your point, is everything is so sped up. And then I think we miss out on some of if you and I both look back, and even guys that have been on here, guys that listen to this, you look back when you're a kid, you're like, man, I don't ever feel like I was so just compressed for time as I am now. But everything's sped up. It's just
crap. We were hitting off a tee when we were 7.
Yes. T-ball went to like 6, I know, in Gordon County. We had some big times. But,
large times. And it was okay. We still ended up being able to play baseball. I mean, it wasn't.
That's right.
We still figured it out.
I didn't have all this. I didn't have any of those the little gadgets they had, and I was able to go play college baseball. I said, so it's you're possible. You can do it.
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. Your mom and daddy didn't have to drop $2,500 every 6 weeks for you to be on the travel ball team.
No, I was playing rec balls over Redbud. Let's go.
You still made it for $20 and you played for Johnny's Mechanics, Johnny's Auto Parts, or whoever.
You are correct.
Whoever your team sponsor was.
American Legion 43. I'll tell you what.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and what's going on with the East Paulding Raiders this year. And I can't wait to watch you guys and hope y'all are able to follow up that great first year with an even better second year. And if there's ever anything in the world I can do to help you, man, just hit me up. But I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey thus far and listening to everything you've done to pour into the young people that you've come into contact with so far and the men that have guided you in this business. And I'm sure they're extremely proud that you've taken what they taught you and you're passing it on as well.
Well, I appreciate it. I think what you're doing is outstanding. And I just pray that we can all just keep building this game and hopefully do great things on a daily basis. So I just really appreciate you doing this and giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Oos? Main event Jay Uso here from the WWE. When it's just me between matches, it's day one-ish. And that means it's Chumba time. With hundreds of casino-style games and new titles arriving weekly, there's always something fresh to try at Chumba Casino. The daily boosts make it even more fun. And have me about to get them all during my downtime. Ready for a fun way to chill out and enjoy a few minutes for yourself? Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.